Hey everyone, today we are at a unique shop. This is Sloan Motors in Fairfield, Connecticut. Any of you that have been buying or know the air-cooled market within the Porsche arena probably know where I am today. Brett and his father, your father ran the shop for many years before you.
Started in '76, yep.
Were really the specialist in air-cooled Porsches for decades, wasn't he, your father?
Yeah, he started it as a hobby, and then it turned into a full-scale business, which I jumped in around 2006. I helped him out, and we lost him in 2016, but I've been keeping the torch lit, and it started out in New Haven area, but now here we are in Fairfield.
Nice.
And now we're neighbors.
Yeah. So it's great to be here, and I thought an interesting video for us to do today was to walk around some of the cars in the shop today and talk about what Brett looks for when he's purchasing an air-cooled 911, because a lot of you guys ask me the same questions, just little things where things can go wrong and how he evaluates a car. So we're going to start with one of your own personal cars, which is...
Yep. This is a 1969 911T that my father gave me as a graduation gift when I graduated from Parsons back in, was it 2006, 2007? I've had it for a few years.
Yeah, I want to get a graduation gift like this.
But yeah, it's just, this is the car that, I learned how to service these cars and work on these cars and improve these cars. And, for many years, Porsche was like my dad's car, right? I was into Volkswagens, and Porsche was something that seemed unattainable.
Yep.
But this is the car that when he gave it to me, it needed a ton of work. And he basically said, like, here's your car and do your homework. And over many years, I mean, honestly, the suspension, I just finished 2 years ago. So for many years, it was still incomplete. Now it's to a point where I want it to be. But, things have gone in and out of fad. I remember for many years, I'm sure you probably saw up here, like the paint's faded down to the primer. Most of the car's original paint, except for this door and this front fender. But
with classic cars like this, are you looking for original paint more than repainted?
Absolutely. This is what we would call a survivor, right? So this car being over 50 years old, the fact that it still wears its original paint, there's a premium for that, right?
And what would you be looking for if you purchased this vintage?
This vintage, the earlier cars, obviously they're not galvanized yet, right? They didn't start getting galvanized until later, like mid-70s.
So rust.
Correct. So this is no galvanization, so you got to worry about rust. This particular model had 2 batteries for weight distribution. Obviously the battery acid finds its way down into the front pan, so you can have pan damage, which this car had at one point.
So there's 2 12 volts in here?
Yeah, I can, if you want, I can open it up.
No, that's all right.
But there's 2 small batteries in both of these fenders.
Right.
And that's, like I said, for weight distribution. Later on, the battery's just on that side, and they put a bigger oil cooler in the front fender, so that balanced it out. Right. But this car doesn't have it. This actually has both. I added an oil cooler in here, but anyway, so it's a little bit. I should probably correct it, put it back the other way. But yeah, this is the car that I cut my teeth on in terms of 911s, and
you've been slowly doing it up over the years.
Absolutely, yep. It's all been customized to my taste, and it's by any means it's not a purist car. I mean, I took the distributor out and I did an electric motive system in it with, I'll show you real quick. But like stuff like this, this is what I feel makes the car more drivable. Like the carburetors are the original carburetors, but they've been rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And usually there's a big old distributor that's right here, but the points and everything. And I was going through the car over many years and kind of figuring out what would be the best way to make it run. And I took that out and did an electric motive distributor system back there. And then it's got an electric fuel pump from Holley, which is something you would have on I've got it out of a Jegs catalog, so it'd be on your Chevy big block. But again, this is the stuff that that I've learned through reading on these forums and stuff. It's these little tricks of the trade that make these cars run better.
But making it run better and value proposition, are two different things, aren't
Correct,
they?
but you know, as we all know, Porsches are this weird thing where if you modify them, you might even get more money than if it was all original, depending on taste. Depending on taste, but you know, in this particular situation, all this stuff is bolt-on, and I tell this to everybody. I have plenty of people that buy these cars from me that are 1,000% original, but they want to change the wheels, the steering wheel, add a radio to it. I go, that's no problem. Just have a big old box that you put all that stuff into, and it's all bolt-on, bolt-off. No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
So yeah, this stuff could all be put back to stock at the end of the day.
And what about interior? What are you looking for in interior in one of this sort of thing?
Same thing, you know, same principle of not going over the top. Yeah, more than welcome. There's a push button here. This car is a mess because I do drive this car pretty much every day, and so it is a bit messy.
But you're looking for original
carpeting. Again, there's certain carpeting of a certain era, right? So this carpeting, this salt and pepper carpeting is from this era. I wouldn't want to put like, you know, thicker loop that you would have in like an 80s Carrera or something like that. You want it to be period correct. That's the term that always gets, you know, passed around. But, you know, these cars had white headliners. You don't want to put a black headliner or an Alcantara headliner or something like that. You want it to be period correct.
Got it. All right. Let's move on to the next car.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at a 912 here. The powerhouse of Porsche cars.
All like 95 horsepower. This is a very special car to me. This car belonged to my late father. It's a 68, so 1968 912 soft window Targa. As you can see, there's no rear glass here. This was originally Porsche built this car to be the safest convertible. So this integrated roll bar, they heard that the United States was they wanted these cars to be a little bit more, you know, convertibles to be a little bit safer, so they kind of jumped the gun here and designed this Targa roll bar to be this safety feature. So obviously the Targa, when I drive the car, this top is usually off the car, and it's convertible. But
is there a glass panel here?
No, it's almost like a Jeep.
Right.
Like a Jeep. So it has this vinyl top here with a plastic window. This car's been in my family for about 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen that window up.
Sure.
I've never put it up personally.
Not driving this in the rain a lot.
I have been caught in the rain many times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Me too. I have a bit of a problem with that as well.
Yes. No, that's happened many times.
Okay.
This particular car, again, it's sentimental reasons, but it also has 43,000 original miles on it. It has been repainted, but other than that, like the interior is all original. You can see this tonneau cover here. This is all original. You can see it's kind of faded and whatnot. But I mean, what we were discussing earlier before the cameras were rolling, it's got a small motor in it, which I'll pop open real quick. What this motor is basically a 356 SC motor with a bigger crank in it. And like I said earlier, it's only like, it's under 100 horsepower. So it's great for driving around back roads around town, not a big deal, but getting onto 95, it gets a little bit, you know, a little scary.
Gasping away.
Yeah.
And so this being a late 60s, same deal as your T over there, where you're looking for rust.
Correct.
You're looking for period correct.
Period correct. This car is definitely, there's no modifications in terms of, you know, that are not period correct. It does have mods like the fog lamps and the wooden steering wheel, but besides that, this is true to what it would have been back in the 60s.
And where would you see the rust? Around the...
Right here, in this panel right there, it would form down here.
Yep.
And then the floorboards. So a big thing that I do for the earlier cars is that I take all the carpeting out and I put this product called Pore 15, and I take all the surface rust, the scaling that comes on there. You grind that down, you put this Pore 15 product on it, top and bottom, and that kind of adheres to the bodywork and gives you a little bit more, a longer grace period before things kind of build up. But yeah, rust in these cars are definitely crucial.
And a lot of, I know from experience with my car, a lot of...
the cowl.
Yeah.
Rusting. So that's an issue later on, because as you can see, this is a two-part process. You have the gasket plus the trim in here. The later cars, have this one-piece gasket which moisture can get underneath. It's a very problematic, actually, like you said, your car, the 993s. Yeah. That's a very huge issue, and you'll see it on the A-pillar and around here on the cowl. It will start to form, and like I said, moisture will get underneath and it'll start to rust the cowl. Right. Yeah. So it takes an expert to get that windshield to seal properly.
I see. Very good. Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next car. What's the next? What do we have here?
So this is an odd car. This is a 1973 and a half 911T. And what the half means that halfway through production in 73, Porsche redid the motor for us where, for emissions reasons, we have a CIS motor in the back. What makes this car interesting is that it's actually, this is a one-owner car with 27,000 original miles on it.
Good Lord.
I got this car from the gentleman's widow. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. You can see there's some OEM plus stuff, like he has a later, different steering wheel, sport seats, but a lot of the stuff is still original.
It's got a 90s stereo in
it. Does. But if you notice, it's a Porsche radio.
It is.
So a lot of the upgrades he did were, again, OEM plus. He was using stuff still out of the Porsche catalog. But he's had the car for so long. I mean, he had the car for over 50 years.
I mean, that seat looks like it's never been sat in.
So yeah, 27,000 original miles, one-owner car. And it also, if you look at the color, how many black early 911s have you ever seen?
Yep.
It's the rarest
these days,
color.
Everyone has black.
Yep.
But back
then, it wasn't common. So it's mostly original paint. It's never been restored, obviously. Just a really cool opportunity to, and this is a factory air conditioner. That's a York compressor right there.
Look at the size of the thing.
Yep, it's a boat anchor, and obviously it robs the car for some horsepower when you use it. But
you actually noticed it when you engage it.
Oh yeah. But this is a CIS motor, which this came through halfway through 73, and it continued to use the CIS motor for emissions, and. Just a cool car that, again, a survivor. And you asked me earlier, this is the kind of stuff I look for. Yep. Stuff that, again, hasn't been over-restored. I mean, we all know you can buy everything in a catalog these days, you know? So a lot of these people, and there's nothing wrong with it, but, these cars get restored better than they left the factory. So there's something about seeing these cars that are still intact and they still have all the...
A little imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what are you looking for in the early 70 cars? Once again, rust again?
Same thing, right? So we're starting to get closer to the galvanization era where you don't have to be as concerned. But yeah, it's still the rust. It's still, one thing that also we didn't really touch upon is that, matching numbers. So back in the day, it was easier to swap out a motor instead of rebuilding it if you had an issue. So I can't tell you how many times you get these cars in here and they don't have a matching transmission or engine. Okay. So that's another thing I'm looking for.
And is that easy to spot, or is that quite a task to?
It's numbers, right? So you got to match everything up to the original paperwork. There's something called the Cardex report, which is basically, Cardex card, which is their birth certificate that every Porsche should have, and that kind of matches up the color codes and where it went originally, what country, and the options that are on the car, and of course the serial numbers that for all the mechanical parts that line up, and that's crucial information when you're selling a car, because you want it to be an honest car and you want to be transparent, so you want to make sure everything lines up. But
what's the approximate price of this vehicle?
This one's around $145.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, and again, it's because it's original. It's never been it's never been blown apart.
Is it got an electric aerial?
Pardon?
Is this an electric aerial?
No. That's no. It's manual. Right. There's a little key that unlocks this, and then you can drag it up.
Right.
There you go.
Nice.
It's got to go up a little bit more, but.
All right. Okay. The 73 and a half. And it's got air horns under there as well.
Yeah.
You had this at a show this weekend, did you?
That's correct. I've did a lot of miles on this car this past weekend. This is what I was saying earlier about cars that are better than they left the factory. This car was restored back in like 2011, 2013, and
what year is this?
This is a '69 911E.
Right.
So this is, it's got 140 horsepower compared to my car originally would have had about 110 in it, So the E-cam is really, this is also an MFI car where my car came with Weber's.
Right.
So there's some differences there. But again, this is, you know, all the trim, all the bright work, the interior. It's better than it would have left the factory. Like, you know, their tolerances aren't, you know, these were hand-built cars, right?
Sure.
So, and they're trying to pump them out. They're trying to do it quicker than, you know, just to get the cars out on the road. Whereas when it goes to these restoration shops in today's, you know, in today's world, they have more time to make these cars perfect, and that's where this one kind of lands, where it's like it's been
repainted,
refinished, and you know, again, time is a crucial thing here, where they can make it perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a beautiful car.
So what's the price?
This is around the same price as the other one. Yeah.
140 odd thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, and you saw me driving around this weekend, and it's definitely a fun car to, especially now, like fall, it's the best time to drive these cars. They have fantastic heater boxes. I mean, obviously this one doesn't have air conditioning, so, and also if you notice, it's an Italian delivery car, and these early Italian cars had different turn signals just for that country. So you see it's mostly clear, whereas this one, even though this is a US car, this has European turn signals on it, and it just has this little clear right here, and most of it's amber. If it was a US car, all this would be amber.
Right.
But for whatever reason, the Italian cars got these larger clear turn signals just for the front.
Very cool. And what about when it's been repainted like this? Are you looking? Are you checking the paint depth all over?
That's correct.
That type of thing?
Yeah, so I have a paint meter.
Yep.
I'm looking for Bondo. I'm looking for filler.
Yep.
I'm looking for, you know, if there's any rust. I mean, obviously these cars are going to have a little bit of rust, so I'm expecting at least a skim coat or some sort. And like, obviously you can measure the thickness of it. That also gives my detailer, you know, room if they have to buff any areas, knowing how much, you know, paint is there to.
Sure.
But yeah, so anyway, but yeah, it definitely.
So if rust has occurred and it's eaten away and they've had to re-weld a plate on there and then it's repainted and back to perfect, how much of an issue is that resale?
On this stuff, it's not as important as, I mean, because again, these cars are over 50 years old. You're expecting some stuff like that, and you want it to be done right. You don't want rust, obviously, so you want it to be done already, because that body work is definitely one of the most expensive things to do on these cars. Sure. And get it right. Good body work is definitely difficult to master, but you know, the later stuff, I don't want to. This is the latest.
This is the earliest sort of electronic injection.
This is, yes, correct. This is an MFI car. So again, this is a 1969, so this is a 2-liter. So this is still the same, this is the original recipe in terms of displacement size. This is the original displacement size for a 911 motor, a 2-liter motor. But with the MFI and the E-cams, you know, it's 140 horsepower. This has been upgraded with pressure-fed chain tensioners, but you know, which is good. You want that kind of stuff. But you can see all the cadmium plating. Like it's done nice. Yep. You're not overdone.
Okay. Into the 80s.
So this is a 1984 turbo look. So in the United States, there was a bit of so for emissions. Porsche didn't give us turbos from stopped in 1979, and then they picked up again in '86. So if you wanted to buy a turbo, or at least the aesthetic of it, you would have to get a turbo look. And this is the first year they offered it, '84. So you get the wide body, right, front and rear fenders, turbo brakes, turbo suspension. Obviously the wider wheels, and then the chin spoiler and the whale tail. There was an option called spoiler delete, where you didn't get the
well tail.
Yep.
So this is probably slower than the non-turbo look, right?
This is correct. Yeah. So it's obviously it's not as slippery, right? Yep. So it's not a narrow body, and it's got a little added weight. Yeah.
This is the US bumpers as well.
You got it. Yep. It does have a European rear fog lamp. Yep. But this is kind of cool that we've been in the business for a long time, and it's always nice to get back cars that we've sold in the past.
You see them multiple times.
Yeah, so this guy bought the car from us I bought it from my father about 14, 15 years ago. And you know, he's been kind enough to let me resell it for him. But this is a rare car. This is called chiffon white. Wow. So it's not Grand Prix white. It's hard to tell in this light over here, but it's got more yellow to it, almost like an ivory. And then now it's important for, you know, to look for original paint, right? Because that's really where the added value.
So you're starting to get galvanized in the 80s?
These are galvanized. I'm not worrying about rust. You know, we have now we're looking at like head stud issues. It's a 915 transmission. They can have, you know, synchro issues and a few other things where, you know, but again, paint and originality is where it's really becoming
And those
crucial.
Transmissions continued for a long time.
915 went all the way to 1986. 87 is the first year for the G50, which a lot of, you know, so if this was a G50 car, it would be at a premium.
Right.
So,
let's have a look at this.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at for one of these?
This is, it's got 47,000 original miles on it. M491s, you know, they typically go for between 100 to 150 if it's a G50 car. The G50 cars are definitely got a premium because that's a hydraulically assisted clutch. But this is a very special car. To my knowledge, I've never had another chiffon white one. I've never seen this color combination. It's got some great patina. You can see it on the seat, which is kind of cool. It's like an old leather coat, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, I put a huge emphasis of being a survivor. The fact that it doesn't have a massive exhaust system or slammed on the ground with some wheels, or, you know, it's survived this whole time.
It's very original.
Yeah, you know, even kept the original sugar scoop. That's what these things are called. H1 headlights without being modified to the later style, which, you know, it's very
popular,
common. Yeah, exactly. So it's just, again, the paint's in great shape. This is original, you know, original hood. You know, nothing's been painted. And
okay, does this one have an electric aerial?
This one does.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, very 80s to have an electric aerial, isn't it?
Yep. But even like the turbo wheels, and you get these little clips here. You see these on the, so there's rubber, and so that these things stay on here so that when the car goes fast that they don't split. So these little doodads right there keep it from staying in shape for the.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're starting to see styling, the doors, the way the doors are built and everything that go right through to the 90s, don't they?
That's correct. Yep. It works.
I mean, the switchgear is the same as in my 993.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, just the backing of it, like the actual assembly in the back will be different, but the aesthetics up front are exactly the same all the way through.
Yeah, wow. Very cool. Okay, staying with the 80s theme, what have we got here?
This is a 87 930, so 911 turbo. This also belonged to the gentleman that passed away with the black car, the 73 car over there. Yep. So this is an all original paint car. Again, the stuff that I'm looking for in these kind of cars, again, that adds premium to it. Like if you look back here, I've got the original window sticker. You know, all these little doodads really, you know, add to the story.
So you paid $61,000 total.
Yep.
Back in 87. So what are you seeing in the later 80s? Changes, improvements?
So there's the later cars, they have, so it's a 3.3 liter. So when they came back to the United States, 78 was the first year they started doing intercoolers. And then 79, like I said, is the last year for the States. So when they came back in 86, we have different trim. So we have no more anodized. We have now this black that goes throughout the whole car. The interior is different on the 86s versus the last year for the turbos. I don't have a 79 in here, so I can't really show you exactly the differences. But you know, the layout's a little bit different than the last year.
So this is an 80s steering wheel.
Yep,
so that's what came with it, right?
This is an upgraded wheel. It was called the 930S steering wheel. More of those.
Is that period correct though?
Yeah, it's a later one. It would be more the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
So what this is, I mean, it's an 87, so it's within the realm of that. But
so that is the original stereo.
That is, the original stereo.
That is super cool. Look how many buttons are on that bad boy. I'd be slamming that right back in there.
So yeah, this is a 4-speed car. So as we all know, the 930 was mostly 4-speed until the final year in '89, and that's when they went to a 5-speed transmission. So 5-speed cars definitely get a higher premium because of that. I do look for '89s just because they're very in demand.
So this has only got 12,000 miles on it?
Yep. Just
what outrageous price is this worth?
These go over 200 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, because of the condition, the fact that it's, again, we're talking Survivor, and
do you have any problems? Like I know in the 930s you have
the door checks.
The door checks, yeah.
Yep, that's the thing. I'm looking for door checks to make sure they're still in the same spot and not, haven't been stressed. And the 930 is the same thing. Again, we're talking galvanization, so rust isn't as major issue, but we do have issues with these cars sitting for a long time, so you want to make sure there's no rust in the tank. Especially today's fuels, you have the ethanol, and that definitely attracts moisture, so you got to be careful for that as well. So now we're getting into with these low mileage cars, you want to make sure it's been preserved right. So I have another 930 like this right now that's at my mechanic. And because it sat dormant for many years, I'm going through the whole fuel system to get rid of that rust that's been collected from just sitting.
Yeah. So sitting has always been a problem, and the newer the car, the worse the problem it is, really, isn't it?
Porsches are pretty unique that, these cars, listen, they don't have water in them, obviously, these air-cooled cars, right? So you don't have the issues with corrosions in that aspect. It's got 13 quarts of oil, give or take, so that's kind of pickling these cars in a way, to protect them. But yes, today's fuels are definitely a major issue. Also, in the earlier cars with the carburetors, that ethanol is eating through the gaskets, so I'm seeing a lot of carburetors that need to be rebuilt. My particular car, my car, I had to rebuild the carburetors twice in the last 10 years, which is just because I use it so much, but that's becoming an issue. Yeah, the 930s, listen, we're adding more heat to them because they've got the turbochargers. These cars have intercoolers, but still, there's just a lot of shrinking going on and heat expansion, so a lot of seals need to be replaced. So there's definitely, I got to pay more attention to that kind of stuff to make sure there's not any severe leaks. A lot of these cars, an odometer could break, or you got to make sure that, I'm looking for, these cars can say 11, 12, 15,000 miles, but there's certain things, wear marks that I'm going to...
So what are you looking for to see
this carpet? Yeah, this kick panel here is plush. You can tell it hasn't been in and out of here. Somebody hasn't been in and out of this car a million times. I'm looking at seat wear. I'm looking at all the touch points that would show that,
Does that include pedal wear?
Sometimes? Well, that stuff you can obviously replace, but there's there's a certain point where you can see how much has it been changed, right? So there's a certain patina, and I've been very fortunate to be around these cars for, I'm 42 years old. I grew up around this stuff, so you know what you're looking for. You see how these things age, and I see so many of these cars. And also the reproduction parts don't have the same fit and finish that the original stuff does. So you kind of see how these things age, and you get accustomed to that, So and then certain things are going to shrink, and that's normal. As you can see that this rubber piece here has shrunk, and it should be all the way to the sill here, to the end of here. But you can see the glue marks, and again, because of time, it's kind of collected itself, and that's an indication it's never been replaced.
Sure. Into the 90s, the 964.
Yeah,
what do we got here?
This is a 92 964 3.3 turbo. So as we all know, later cars, the bad boy era car, that's a 94, that's a 3.6 turbo. But this is a rare car. This is quite a...
This is purple on purple, isn't it?
Yes. This is amethyst over magenta. This is original. This is how it was ordered. You gotta look at that. Also with a matching steering wheel, right? Because you have to have
and even the
gator and all that stuff. Yep.
The whole works.
This is all factory.
Wow.
And in case you're curious of who would order something like this back in the day,
you got the actual.
You got the. This comes with the car. This is your original
actual Polaroid.
Yeah.
Look at that owner. He's very happy.
So
it's the guy on the left or the guy on the right? Hard to know, isn't
Hard
it?
to know.
Those shorts are something else.
I'm going to say the guy in the shorts. He looks like he knows how to party. But this is, it's always been originally, it was originally a Connecticut car, so it's nice to keep these cars in the area. But, everybody kind of gravitates towards the later cars, the 3.6 turbos with the speedline wheels, and of course, being featured in the movie. But the earlier cars, the 91, 92 turbos are actually less production numbers. It's a pretty rare car to get. But But 964s, they're definitely, you know, it's a stepping stone to the 993s. There's a lot of changes between this and the G50 car. I'm sorry, the G Series cars.
This is still the poor time of Porsche, though,
That's correct. Yep. Porsche was definitely.
See a rear wiper.
I've got to have the rear wiper.
Yep. So yeah, once again, you're looking not so much body rust, but you're looking for rust around.
Correct. Yep. And these seals dry. This seal's got to be replaced. You know, there's this dried up. But all these parts are readily available.
Yep.
Porsche Classic's got a huge catalog of a lot of stuff to replace on these cars.
And painted calipers.
Yeah, there's a couple of personal preferences that. So yeah, it's got red calipers, which should have black, and it's got a different exhaust system on it. A couple of custom. This is a higher mileage car. It's got some paint work. It's a driver.
So this paint has been repainted, but they haven't put paint protection film on because it just wasn't done back then. Obviously.
Yeah, it just wasn't done. And then the smile can be replaced too. This plastic, I actually have that too. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be kind of just little small things that need to be done to the car.
And engine wise and transmission wise,
they're pretty
oil leaks.
Yeah, oil leaks. They're pretty good, but now we're dealing with, like, you know, especially 964 turbos are kind of leftover parts from the G series, the 3.3 turbos with 964 parts kind of thrown at it. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge with these. These are single turbo cars. These are the last of the single turbo 911 turbos before they went to the twin turbos in the 993s.
Yeah.
So
the 993 turbo was really a big step up.
You got it. Yep. And so it's a bit of the, you know, parts robbing here because, again, like you said earlier, Porsche is definitely in some financial issues in this era. So there's a few cut corners and penny pinching just to get these cars on the road. That's another reason they're low production. You know, they weren't producing that many.
So the 964s, you're seeing a little bit of shortcomings in the fit and finish, aren't you?
Yeah. And then, you know, we all know that, like, the early 964s and naturally aspirated cars, they don't have head gaskets, so we have leaking issues. You can retrofit them, but that's a costly thing. But you know, the 3.6 definitely was you know, they just did a better job with the 993s.
So what would you be asking for a high mileage one? Like
these range anywhere from, like, high, you know, low twos to high twos, up approaching 3 in special color combinations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Very cool.
And then, of course, 3.6 turbos can get pretty, especially mileage and weird colors can get pretty hefty as well.
Yeah.
And then the 3.6 turbos have, like, flat bow, so you have a slant nose conversion. There's some really rare models within the later ones too that also they can get very expensive into the 7 figures.
Very cool. All right. Okay, so here we are in the mid-90s. 993, something I know a little bit more about.
Yes, the expert.
Yeah.
This is a 1996 993 Targa, but what makes this car so special is that it's a one-owner car, all original, with only 4,300 miles on it.
It's a crime that this owner didn't drive this car.
Right? So it is all original, down to the original tires on the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the original Air from Germany.
Wow.
I'm just playing.
These look like terrible tires.
They're horrible. But it's all original. So this car...
That would.
I know, they're rock hard.
Yeah.
And I should say, when the car is sold, they will be going with new tires, with originals going with the car, obviously unmounted.
So 96 is an interesting... There's this... not to talk over you, but 95 to 96, there were so many changes.
Yeah.
The engine changed.
Yep.
Even the horn changed. So there was an air horn on the 95, and the 96 there isn't. I've noticed lots of changes.
Yep.
But yeah, let's have a look at
a
factory fresh.
In the wrapper.
In the wrapper. 4,000 mile 993. What a beauty.
So it took me about 4 years to buy this car. I met the gentleman down in, he kept the car at his daughter's house in New Jersey. He lived in Manhattan. That's actually why the car has no miles on it, because he didn't want to leave the car in the city.
Right.
So he would leave the car, he left the car in New Jersey at his daughter's house, and he would see the car every once in a while to drive it and see his family. But, you know, again, that's why there's no miles. But
and this is the Targa with one big
that's correct
piece of glass.
Glass folds back over here. Plus, you get this little thing pops up so you can get fresh air too. And then there's on a day that's gorgeous and a lot of light, there's a sun shield that comes out of the bulkhead and then covers. Yeah, you can see it. It's rolled up right now. Yep. So the Targas are tricky cars. They're definitely, you know, there's some little things you got to look out after the tracks of the Targa top can break.
What is this little switch?
That is for the dealer-mounted radar.
Oh, okay.
Yep. The dealer did the radar, and they put that wood trim because he told me when he bought the car he was bummed out the entire interior was solid black. So the dealer threw that in for him. So
it's got a 1990s radar detector built into it.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. So what is such a low mileage 993, perfect condition 993 like this go for now?
You know, if it's a low mileage car, no stories, no nothing, they can get over 200 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, even the rubbers are still in good condition.
Correct. Yeah,
There's no scratches in here.
So, like I said, I saw the car at his daughter's house. It was nicely covered. They had, they lived in a beautiful house, heated air conditioning garage. So it was well kept, and
wow.
I actually just did a service on it. And some things over time, again, from sitting, so I did over like the brake lines and stuff like that.
I
redid all that stuff. Yeah, the rubber, exactly. The rubber disintegrates, so I upgrade. So stuff to make it obviously safe. I redo that just for obvious reasons.
So you can replace, you could replace these lenses, and with that clearer lenses.
Yep.
Would that be
no?
Or is it just fine to leave them like that?
Yeah, I'm leaving it as is right now. Obviously, there's little bits and pieces you can improve on, but it's again a Survivor. The guy kept.
I want to drive it with these tires.
No, you don't. I've seen you drive before. No, I don't think so.
Wow, this is so cool.
But yeah, it's just a really cool to see Survivor. I mean, he kept all the original paperwork. I have the original temp tag when he pulled out of the driveway of. He bought it at, I think it was Jack Daniel's Porsche in New Jersey, and the temporary insurance card. Like again, he just kept everything from the first day he owned the car. Just. And this is stuff, honestly, when I look at this car, this is stuff I remember my father having and selling back in, 10, 15 years ago. This is the kind of quality stuff that's how he built the reputation on this kind of stuff. He was the one that spotlighted cars that were Survivors and put a massive premium on them because there's something very unique and special about somebody that bought a car like this and treated it and babied it from day one. So this is really
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is where the Sloan brand really.
So what are you looking for? If it wasn't so perfect like this, what are you looking for in a 993? Where are you focusing in when you buy?
So it's always these cars have problems with the odometers break-in, so I got to make sure that especially a car low mileage like this. Obviously, I showed you guys earlier with the carpeting and stuff like that to make sure that it hasn't been worn. But you can run a Carfax in this car, so you can see where the miles has it been going up. You don't want to see evidence of somebody tampering with the odometer. Not so much tampering, but replacing the part in the back which breaks, which is again a very common thing on these cars. But you want to make sure somebody was, if it broke, that they were active about it and didn't let it, sit for 5-10 years and adding miles and not fixing it. So obviously the car doesn't match up to what the mileage should be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, I mean.
But it's brand new.
No one's ever gotten to this side.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, so I bought this car back in November, and I haven't really driven it that much for obvious reasons.
Are the lights down by the?
That's for the radar still. Yeah.
Wow.
Remember, 1990s tech here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Wow, great. All right, one last car before we go. Another 993. Okay. 993 Turbo with yellow seatbelts.
But time out. You said 993 Turbo, but there's something more unique about this.
It's a Turbo S.
Yeah, don't sell it short.
Don't sell it short. Goodness, Nick, come on.
Yeah, this is the king of the hill. This is a 1997 993 Turbo S. So They made 345 for the world, but about 182 came over to the United States. This is the car that I believe my father. This is the car he was known for. He had more Turbo S's than anybody. I've gotten many of them back over the years. This car I've known about for I guess the last 2 or 3 owners, and it's this is probably the highest mileage one I've ever had. It's got 45,000 miles on it, but it's been serviced like it was like a daily driver. The car is incredible.
So my boss had one. I don't think it was an S though, and he did the tune, the EFI tune on it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Added 50 horsepower?
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. I mean, you kind of like overboost it too.
Yeah,
There's ways to do it to get like another 25, 50 horsepower out of it. Stock, so the Turbo S, a normal turbo is 400 horsepower for the United States. The S added another 24 more horsepower, so it's 424, which doesn't sound much today's standards.
What else is the S adding?
S is adding these scoops right here.
Okay.
Yep, you got an additional oil cooler too.
Yeah.
Yep, so those hand-formed scoops. You get a special finish on the twist wheels. I don't know if it picks up on film, but it's got like an iridescent quality to it. You get the quad pipes back there.
Okay, instead of the big ovals.
You got it, yep. And then if you look in the front here and also in the rear wing, this is the factory Aero Kit 2. So they made two versions of the Aero Kit. This is the Aero Kit 2. So it has a turbo front bumper on it, and this is a cap that goes on top of it.
Okay.
So this is standard on a Turbo S. Also these air ducts here, that's also Turbo S.
Yeah.
And then the rear duct lid as well is Turbo S, the Aero Kit, which is standard on a Turbo S. But the biggest thing with the Turbo S cars is that the entire interior is leather. And when I mean you might want to get on the other side. But
because there were options in the 993s to have the dash leather and stuff, but few people ever did.
But not like this. Like
right.
even the air vents, even the back of the windshield wiper stalks, everything is wrapped in leather. Even the window switches are wrapped in leather.
You're kidding. Wow.
Everything is wrapped in leather. And if you look at even the top of the seatbelt cover, even on the seats where, everything.
Everything. That is something else, eh? So what are we looking for price on one of these guys? This must be well over 300.
Anywhere from high fours to over 7 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can pay over $1 million for one of these.
That's correct. Yep. They're very rare cars. This one is Arctic Silver over black. That's supple leather right there.
Yeah.
I had a yellow one with sport seats not too long ago with yellow leather, which is incredible with 5,000 miles. But yeah, even this kick panel, this is all leather.
Yep.
So very, very, very special.
So you
car.
probably want to do a straight swap with my car for this.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I might owe you money.
You might owe me money. That's true. Wow. Well, this is a great place to leave it. Really.
This is the king of the air-cooled cars for the United States. We didn't get the GT2s or 993 Carrera RSs. This is the fastest air-cooled car we got in the United States, and definitely the most special one. So. It's just a fantastic car, and it's just a privilege to have this in the facility. Yeah.
Well, very interesting tour today. We might drive some of these rear cars at some point on my channel, but it's very interesting to hear your point of view on what to look for in these air-cooled cars. They're my favourites, obviously. Really impressive cars. So thanks a lot, Brent. Thanks for your time today.
No problem. Thank you for coming by.
No problem.